Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the first meeting of our calendar year. It seems like we're about to approach some bad weather. Hopefully, everyone will remain safe if you have to travel, and understand that we don't see this that often, and when we do, seems like people forget how to drive sometimes. So again, please be safe out there, and look forward to seeing you next month. With that, I will go ahead and call our regular meeting to order. Got quite a few exciting things on the agenda. Appreciate folks who are joining us both in present and virtually as we continue to deal with the pandemic. I never thought in 2020 I would still be saying this 2022, but we are. Hopefully, again, we will continue to remain safe and healthy. I will ask Councilman Hinkle if he would mind giving us an invocation, which will then be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. We ask everyone to stand as we recite our pledge.
We all bow our heads for a minute, please. Lord, we ask for your blessings on this meeting this evening, that you be with council and help us to make the decisions that are in the best interest of this town and are pleasing in your sight. We ask that you be with each and every one of us in our community over the weekend with this impending storm that's coming, that you bring us through this storm safely, and that we suffer no ill effects from it. We ask that you be with those infirmed and are less fortunate in their daily activities, that you be with them and bring them peace and comfort in their lives and safety. And all these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for your cooperation. Council, at this time, you have your agendas in front of you. I would ask if there are any adjustments to tonight's agenda. Staff, any adjustments?
No, sir.
Okay.
Hold on one second. On items number 12, we would like to postpone due to sickness the formal presentation at this time.
And that's both of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if there are no other adjustments, council, is there a motion to approve our agenda with the adjustment recommended by staff?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, receive the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda are consent items, which includes routine items that the council will approve with one motion. There will be no separate discussion on those items unless requested by council. We have several sets of minutes, the approval of a retirement of a K9 jackpot, approval of a surplus firearms supply, as well as the acceptance of right-of-way on the property located east side of North Main, the approval of policy number 60, Town of Troutman Street Maintenance, the approval of resolution 2022 in memory of Jenny Lee Moore Clontz, and the approval of the resolution for Mr. Jim Troutman, as well as the resolution 0422, a request of support for the town to match 50% of funds for construction of a sidewalk on the east side of Wagner Street. And lastly, the approval resolution in memory of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And recognition of the MLK Day. Those are our consent items, council. Unless there's no change to those items, I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Make that motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Motion is made, received a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item on our agenda is introductions, recognitions, and presentations. We've got introduction of new police officers, and I will turn it over to our police chief.
I'd like to introduce to the council and to the citizens here in attendance, our newest officer, who was just hired, Sergeant Daniel Steichleather. Sergeant Steichleather comes originally from Statesville, North Carolina. He graduated from West Idaho High School. He worked at Statesville Police Department, was its first agency, where he was a patrol officer and a training officer. Steichleather then went to the Idaho County Sheriff's Office, where he served as a patrol deputy, a criminal investigator for 2 years with the Investigations Division, and then was sergeant with the Community Oriented Policing Unit, the Sheriff's Office calls COPS. His training experience brings a lot of value to the department. His investigations experience will help add an asset for a patrol division that we didn't have before, having somebody out on patrol that has had the training that a detective has. He's also going to be able to help our investigator. Right now we have one, so he'll be able to help them with various criminal incidents and investigations. We're happy to have him, all the training he brings with him. We have, we'd like to honor 2 officers who just went through the promotional process and were promoted to sergeants. That's Sergeant Chad Tribbett and Sergeant Rex Urey. Sergeant Tribbett, he was originally from Moxville, North Carolina. He started his law enforcement career at Davie County Sheriff's Office, where he was a corporal supervisor there. He then went to the Moxville Police Department, where he was a senior patrol officer before coming here to Troutman. He has 10 years experience as a police officer. He's seen all types of incidents and dealt with people of various backgrounds. He currently is our department's taser instructor and a field training officer for the agency. During the promotional process, it was apparent that he's calm and level-headed, and his experience will help him guide new officers and be a mentor for them as they're developing their career. He brings something to our town, different background and experiences that'll be very valuable. This is Sergeant Rex Urey. He's originally from Virginia. He's a veteran of the United States Navy. His first agency as a law enforcement officer was at St. Augustine's University Police Department. He then went to the Forest Oaks, North Carolina Police Department, Four Oaks, North Carolina Police Department. And then before coming to Troutman, he worked at the North Carolina Central University Police Department. He has 4 years experience as an officer prior to coming to Troutman. He's shown a very strong desire in his daily activities to be involved with the community, get out and talk to people, everything from young children to senior citizens. He wants to take an active role in helping develop the department's training and slate to intensive training to become one of their instructors. We're very happy that they shown out in the promotional process, and we're honored to have them.
will stand behind you guys, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you. Try to get it without the microphone.
Before you guys run out, let me first say welcome to our town, and I know you're familiar with it, but appreciate you joining our force, and look forward to your service here. So thank you so much. Congratulations, gentlemen. Look forward to your continued development of our team here, and know you'll do well and meaningful career so far, and look forward to a long career with Town of Troutman. So thank you for your service. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. I'm trying to organize my paperwork here.
It's personal matter, new business. Over here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Got the proclamation.
First yours.
You got it. Not that one. Got one more. Yeah. I'm missing the
Choice.
children's school choice week. That's the one I'm looking for. I have it in front of me.
I don't think I got a copy. Yeah, that's what I thought, right here. This is another one. It's right. Which page?
I'll get it in a minute. I know I've seen it. You got it? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Now. Maybe it's the first one after. I'm gonna hand yours back. I might just be turning behind and turn past it twice.
No, turn it, no.
That's where it is. I knew it was like the second one.
That's what you returned to when I started looking.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm not organized tonight. The first item, or next item that we need to address is a proclamation declaring January 23rd through the 29th as School Choice Week in the town of Troutman. And I'll read some of the whereas. All children in the town of Troutman should have access to the highest quality education possible, whereas the town of Troutman recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Troutman to be successful adults, and whereas education is critically important to the economic vitality of Troutman, and whereas Troutman is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home, and whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas the town of Troutman has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children, and School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. And now, therefore, I, T. Ross Shung, do hereby recognize January 23rd through the 29th as School Choice Week in the town of Troutman, signed this day, January 13th, 2020. I know we have a lot of school options here in the town, and we appreciate all the work that our educators do to teach our children. It's extremely important that we keep them in our thoughts and prayers, especially during these current times. They're being challenged like never before. So, again, appreciate the work that they do. The next resolution I'd like to read is a resolution in memory of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and in recognition of Martin Luther King Day, whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life in serving our nation's fundamental principles of equality, liberty, and justice for all citizens through his leadership, service, and clarity of vision. And whereas Dr. King, a Baptist pastor, leading civil rights advocate, and spokesperson of his time, was instrumental in organizing civil rights movements in the United States, leading marches seeking advancements in the rights of African Americans to vote, for desegregation, and for recognition and respect for labor rights. And Dr. King preached a doctrine of nonviolence and civil obedience to combat segregation, discrimination, and racial injustice, and believed that each person has the moral capacity to care for other people in their community. And Dr. King, I Have a Dream speech is one of the classic speeches in United States history, bringing people together to build a community of justice and peace with itself. And through his work, Dr. King was instrumental in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Dr. King was awarded the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his efforts and guided through his values, faith, compassion, truth. The legacy of Dr. King's dream is commemorated as a national holiday and on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Therefore, this day, I, T. Ross Shung, the Town Council of the Town of Troutman, hereby honor the life and legacy of Dr. King, urging all citizens to live their lives by kindness, peace, equality, and continue to work for the day when the dignity of every person is respected. I signed this day, January 13th, 2022. I know we will probably mention at some point that we will have a first MLK event here in Troutman. I appreciate the staff and their commitment to ensuring that we celebrate a day of service here in our town. I think it's important as a community we continue to come together and partner with each other to support our community. So I believe that's Saturday, 8 a.m. We will have a speaker over at South Iredale, and then that will be followed by a service project. So thank you all for doing that. And again, sign this proclamation today. The next item on our agenda is our business spotlight. I need a couple of minutes before we do that. apologize for the interruption. A few things we had to handle there that is not usually in our agenda, but it's always an opportunity for us to recognize outstanding citizens in our town and businesses that continue to grow and develop. And I know this particular spotlight is one that is important to a lot of people in our town and has been recognized on a number of occasions, but it's also important that we continue to appreciate the work that's being done. Therefore, I want to read a special recognition here that I'd like to present a certificate of recognition on behalf of the town of Troutman, Town Council, residents, and the greater community. Mayor Young recognized Tasty Pickles by Carson as the Business Spotlight of the Month for his creativity, entrepreneurship, and community involvement. We also recognize and commend his persistence and to rise above challenges and create a successful and dynamic business adventure that is an inspiration to our community. And I signed this day, January 13th, 2022. I'm going to ask Carson to come up and I'll present the certificate and a few other items, and I asked council to join me in a photo. By the way, that's a very nice shirt, by the way.
Mr. Mayor, while you was preparing to come up here, we've got a few pictures of Carson working the gravel in your seat, just so you understand. So he was doing quite a great job. He was doing a good job. He was able to call the people to order that was getting a little unruly before the meeting started. So he's going to be able to help out if you ever need any assistance.
I know how to find it. My mother works at Walmart, and every now and then she sees your mom, so we know how to find you. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for your business and continue to grow and develop.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Town Council.
Can we get a group picture with him, Mr. Mayor?
Where can your product be found?
Food line.
Oh, at Food Line? Oh, fantastic.
They also have a website.
Can we support you directly? I don't mind Food Line, but you can buy
They have
direct.
a website.
I'll cut out the middleman. I know how margins work.
I just want to say thanks to the Mayor of Troutman and the Troutman Town Council for this recognition, and also their management team. I really love this town, and I love my business, and I appreciate the recognitions that I've received. Idle Statesville Schools has recognized me a few times. Their Board of Education. I've shipped throughout the United States and even 2 countries, being England and South Africa.
The next item on our agenda is one of our standing reports, and always look forward to hearing from Mr. Getzinger, so welcome.
Well, that's a hard act to follow.
I'd like to know who you need to know to get one of these hoodies. Yeah.
Dry my eyes a little bit, and I'm watching Emily. I this whole thing. Anyway, this is a great event, and I appreciate the opportunity. And as I told town manager, if anybody hits you guys, they're definitely in for a DWI. That's for sure. I will certainly stay awake during this report. Anyway, good evening, Mayor and distinguished council members and town staff and fellow citizens and Debbie. It's on behalf of the Troutman ABC Board, Wes Edmondson, Kim Cavins, and General Manager Evelyn Walls. I'm pleased to be here to give you our report for the second quarter of this fiscal year. And I'm excited to tell you that the trend that we saw happening in the first quarter with significant increases in revenues over the previous quarter for the year before, we continue to see that happen through these past 3 months. October, we were up 29% over the previous October. In November, we were up 38% over the previous November. In December, we were up 27% over last year's December. And last December was a record setter, 294,000 and change. And this year, we did $374,300. So it's continuing to grow and prosper. And again, I'm still not comfortable standing here and telling you that this is something that I understand fully just because I don't think I do. There's certainly COVID has had a big play in this in the terms of people consuming when otherwise they might be at work. And then we've got a lot of new residents in houses that have within a 5-mile radius of the store. And I will say, and I don't mind this being in the press, we're getting business from down south all the way to Mecklenburg coming north. And that has to do with operating hours and with inventory. So you cannot, we're here as a service. I know that COVID has hit other stores, they've hit us, it's hit us as well. Believe it or not, there was 2 days in October where I was the only person in that store because we had the rest of the store out on COVID protocol because we had one of our staff members. But so I was working 12-hour days, but we stayed open. We opened at 9 and we closed at 9. And that's a commitment that we've tried to honor since we've been open. It's a privilege to be here, and we want to be here unless something, I mean, if God forbid, whatever that might be. But anyway, it's paying off in the fact that people recognize that we're there for them, not for ourselves. And I don't mean that as a knock on our neighbors. I just mean that you run a business when you're a service industry for the benefit of those who have appointed you to be there, and you are endowed with their trust, and I just feel like it's a responsibility. They don't have options. I mean, we are the only game in town, and so when you shut down that game, the game's over. And I don't refer to alcohol consumption as a game, but it's a metaphor I use loosely. The second quarter revenues I'm going to talk about in just a moment because I want to brag a little bit about December, which normally this is a quarterly report, but December was our best month, as I just stated, by far over any month we've had in the store yet. December 23rd was the best day ever we did $33,557. There are weeks when we didn't do that kind of business in the first 3 years we were in business. November 24th, going back to the day before Thanksgiving, was our second best day ever, and that was $32,492. Then circling back to December, December 24th, the Christmas Eve, was third best day ever, but had the potential to be the best day ever, except that we did close at 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve. That's the one time when we do close early, and that day was $30,262. And our fourth day, best day ever, was December 31st, which was New Year's Eve, and that was $29,309. So in the month of December, we, with the exception of the day before Thanksgiving, we were having record-setting days. And I can tell you that we had $300,000 worth of inventory that we had sitting in the store in the middle of the month. We had, we've been, when you order, you don't get everything you order, and so we've tried to outthink the folks in Raleigh as to what they're gonna send us, and they sent us most of everything we asked for in the middle of December, and I'm sitting there thinking, ooh, what road? I was gonna get people standing out there on the side of the road with these signs twirling to see if we couldn't get people inside. But I mean, thank goodness we had it, because I mean, the business was there, even though we still have some eggnog for those who may be interested. We do have one customer that it will be gone by April. They come in about every 2 weeks and pick up a case, and they take it back to parts unknown for their friends that they don't live in Troutman. They just happen to know that we have eggnog that goes past Christmas Eve. So then going back to the second quarter's highlights, we had sales for the quarter of a total of $903,354. That was almost $212,000 more than what we did last year's second quarter. We did $691,395 for last year's second quarter. And that was a 31% increase this year over last year's second quarter. Distributions for this second quarter are also record setters, and the town and its identified recipients, which are the Parks and Rec and the 4 schools and the library board or foundation, the town will be getting $25,708 for the town and the identified recipients. Law enforcement will be getting $4,351, and alcohol and drug education, DACI, will be getting $6,091.60. Our net profit for the quarter after paying distributions was $81,532, and that's versus last year's profit of $63,729, and that's just for the quarter. So that's a $19,456 increase over last year's quarter, which is a 31% increase. We just finished at the end of November. That was the end of our 5th year, which, as you may recall from previous briefings, that the alcohol, North Carolina ABC Commission usually says it takes about 5 years for a board, especially a single board and a new board with a single store, to hit a break-even point. And you'll hear in just a moment where we are in regards to where we were at the end of 5 years. I'm taking you to the precipice here, and then I'm backing away. Our budgeted revenue for the year is $2,362,000. Our first quarter revenues were $744,051, which was 32% of that budgeted revenue. Second quarter's revenues were $903,354, which is 38% of that revenue. So we're now at 70% of budgeted revenue at the end of 6 months into the fiscal year. That equates to $10,628 per selling day. We have 309 selling days this fiscal year. And this first 6 months, there was 155 selling days, and we'll have 154 in this next 6 months. And believe it or not, that can be a big deal depending on what day of the year that falls on, that extra day. But so right now we are at $1,647,405, which is, as I said, is 70% of our budgeted revenue of $2.36 million. And we're on a trajectory, that's a hard word for me, to hit, if all stayed true as it is right now, which it won't, because January and February are always slow months in retail and also in a lot of business industries, not food, but a lot of other retail, because your customers are all recovering from Christmas, both from probably the party atmosphere as well as buying for Christmas. And then there are people who actually have made New Year's resolutions to back away for a while, and which is a good thing. And so then people are getting ready for income tax, and so there's money. People are starting to become aware of finances. So with 154 selling days left, we need to average $8,783 a day for this coming 6 months, which is 154 days, to hit $3 million. My computer model says if we stayed on the number we're at 6 months, which is over 10,000 a day, we would do 3.2 million. But I don't see that. I feel comfortable saying 3 million, and it could come to be 3.1. But that's. I'm happy to be able to give you those numbers as opposed to standing here telling you that we're behind schedule. The all right, go back to page 3. All right, now going back to the teaser. Timeout. But the budgeted profits after distributions for this year is $107,722. We're currently at $145,348. So at this moment, we're 135% of budgeted profit for the year, with 6 months left to go. We have in our retained working capital by statute in the accountant's computations, we are allowed to retain $490,812 as working capital, which is money we need, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute, that to operate the store and to account for growth. Since we've opened the store, we've had net sales meaning without sales tax, the sales tax taken out, $36,436 in sales since December 1, 2016 through December 31st of this year. Of that, $952,205 are profits before distributions that have been given to the town and its identified recipients. The town of Troutman and its entities have received $201,476. And if you remember, the town bought a lot for us to build the store on for $200,000. So after 5 years, we're back to ground zero, if you will. It's, even though we couldn't borrow the money, you couldn't give it to us, but you could buy the lot and give it to us, you know, go figure what the whys and wherefores for all that. But anyway, just happy to give you that news that we're flush. And with more to come. Alcohol education and rehab has received $44,001 since we started the store, and law enforcement will have received, as after we pay these distributions, $31,429. Our net profit for the first 5 years is $675,299, which is 6.7% profit, based on that revenue, profit against revenue. We're at full staffing with no needs for additional payroll. We have bought a lot, well, it's not a lot, it's actually some acreage, to build a second store. We don't have plans for the second store yet. We're in the planning phase. There's still 1 or 2 hoops that we have to get through with our property acquisition to make that everything good to go. But in the meantime, I'm working on business plan and financial models and those kinds of things, which will all be brought to y'all for your approval before we go to the ABC Commission with everything to give them our plans. But right now, we don't have a date in front of us that we're looking to go. I will say that some of our neighboring stores or boards have built a second store when they were at about the 1.5 million mark in sales, net sales. And it did pull from their first store when they built the second store. It took them about 5 years for that second store to ever hit the first $1 million in sales. Meanwhile, store 1 was ramping back up to its original numbers. But so if we use them as examples, we are well past or in a good place to look at a second store. We do know it will pull to some degree, and again, knowing that number is one of those things where I've just got to run the numbers, and that's a matter of getting, I'll be working with the planning folks they've given me some information as far as looking at the diameter or radius of 5 miles from where the new store would be sited to see what kind of, what the numbers of rooftops are currently in existence and what would be coming online within the foreseeable future, meaning the next 3 years. And some of that we know, some of that is still, will be coming to y'all, in the near term with the growth that we're recognizing. So, and I feel like that we'll pick up some business, in that location from neighboring boards. So it's that has to be looked at as well. That's not the intent, but that does happen. And, so that is my report, and I know it's a little bit longer than normal, and I apologize for that, but I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Kitzinga?
I just have one request, if you will. Can you email that report like you have in the past to us?
Sure.
Highlighting those figures. I'd appreciate it.
I'll be glad to. What I'll do is I'll send it to Kim, and then she'll forward it on to you if that's
That's fine.
okay.
That's fine. And also, you have my permission to rob from these neighboring counties all you can.
Well,
as long as it benefits Troutman area, I'm tickled to death.
Well, once we get this second store built, we'll pretty much be in a place, I think, where unless we get new territory that's not currently within our jurisdiction, don't see where we would put a third store. So by us being built out, we will get to a place pretty quickly, I would think, that we will have our working capital retention in place and be able to start. The way the statutes read is that they're mandatory distributions, which is what you get each month or each quarter. along with the schools and the law enforcement and Docky. Any profits that are left over after that and where our working capital also comes back to the appointing authority. So there will be, at that point, significantly more money coming back to the town for the town's use. But I just want you to know that you're not at what you see quarterly right now is not where you will be once we are mature.
So you have a new commissioner. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him yet. I assume he'll be making rounds here soon. A new ABC commissioner.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Mr. Bauer. I believe his name is Hank Bauer.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. So he'll be making rounds, I'm sure.
okay,
But,
well, good.
Yeah, he's been in the industry for quite a while, and I've actually met him a few times. So
Okay,
yeah.
well, no, I look forward to that. They lost is he gonna be the head commissioner?
Hmm.
Okay, the head is, I think I might have briefed y'all at one of the previous meetings, disappeared unexpectedly, and, I mean, I think I know why, but, it was unforecasted, and it left us, we were in a lurch when he was there, and it left us in a bigger lurch, and a lot of what we're experiencing right now is a result of a software installation that was poorly rolled out, taking the old software offline before they had the new software fully debugged, and then the contract that they renewed with the existing trucking and warehousing company that had gotten them front page news with a $14 million unidentified loss of funds. So anyway, so it wasn't our best days.
Yeah. I think he started December 6th,
Okay.
something like that. So it'll probably take him a little while. But,
Yeah, he was still trying to figure out where the men's room is.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. Quick question on, I think you mentioned the statute. Is there an approval that the ABC Commission has to give before that new store can be built? Or is it more of the local authority?
The commission, there are steps we have to go through, and yes, there is. They will grade our business plan and our forecasted revenues, which I'm comfortable both will be acceptable. And we're have to put up a sign on the property that has to be there for 30 days. That is, like we did with this previous, with this store, announcing to the public that there will be, that the site is intended use of an ABC store. And that would give anybody that would be within close by distance that would have any concerns about that, there's a phone number that they would be able to call, which is us, to register those concerns, and we have to report that to the commission. But where the site is it's far away from the, it's about a quarter mile from the charter school further south and across the road. And there, it's right now rural agricultural zoned, so it's not even residential at this point.
And I know I ask this mostly every time, probably here lately, when you appear before us, but again, roughly, I'm not trying to pin you down to an exact day and time, but roughly, any idea of what, I'm gonna say, dirt turning, 2 years from now, 3 years from now?
Well, it would take me probably 6 months from this point just to get through all the approval hoops. So we don't have the gun to our head that this man put to my head the last time when we built the first store of December 1st, and when we started, it was about 11 months from that point, and time we started turning dirt was in August, and we were gonna be open on December 1st, which it did happen, but, so I would say probably 18 months at the max. That doesn't give you, I mean, I would think at least 18 months.
Gives me a perspective, that's all I'm just,
Yeah.
perspective to set under the goals column, if you
Right.
will.
And, you know, that's assuming that nothing happens outside of what we already know going on in this world that would, you know, cause the economy to not respond well.
Leighton, as always, thank you very much, but again, would you take back to the manager, to the rest of your board, and especially the employees? Because I got firsthand knowledge, being an ex-employee, that the job that they do and the amount of money that you give back to our community for our parks, our drug and alcohol programs, and our police, and our library. So, from myself, thank you, thank the board, thank the employees and the manager, please.
Thank you for that, Eddie. I will be glad to do that, and I think y'all all know, and I will say it again, but if they're the ones who do all the heavy lifting, my job's to come and tell you about it, and so I take no credit for it. I did work 2 days in October where.
Well,
everybody else
we
was sick.
appreciate that. So, for sure, I know getting back up there on that register is not always.
Well, it was scary.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
it was.
I-
Those
I-
things had changed.
I've done that in my day job once or twice, getting back on that register. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no, this
Yeah.
is not gonna work.
And then when something goes squirrely with the
Yeah, yeah.
reader, and you're the only person there, and there's 3 or 4 people in line, you just,
Oh yeah,
I panic.
yeah. So
I
thank
thought
you.
having COVID was worse, but no, that panic that set in was fear for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Well, thank y'all.
Congratulations being multi-talented.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on our agenda is public comment. It is comments from visitors and guests. You're welcome to address the council with general comments and concerns. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. You must sign in at the podium and adhere to the Town Policy 51 and present your comments to the council. Again, we're still dealing with COVID. I know a lot of folks are remote, and so I'll ask Kim if she got anything prior to today, okay? Michael, any comments? Okay. Anyone would like to make comments to the council?
This room's a little naked without a huge crowd of people in it for rezoning things. I'd say it's more intimidating when it's empty than it is when it's full. Public comments, is that this one?
Yeah.
Yes. Seth Farger for the record. Sorry, I can't talk and write at the same time. My name's Seth Farger. We've met before. Question has been raised or points made many different times by multiple people in this room regarding comments for you all to listen to or heed feedback or hear the voices of people in this community that may or may not be tax-paying residents. So I'd just like to present a couple of reasons why I encourage you all to hear feedback, receive feedback from community members like myself, whether they are in fact tax-paying citizens or not. First one being, there have been a great number of rezoning and annexations requests, greatly extending the reach and the size and the town limits further into the county. And the more you do that, the more the town, obviously, and the decisions that you all make impact local area residents, whether they're taxpayers or not. And therefore, everyone should have their voices heard. With this logistics center, it's going in an area that isn't primarily in town limits, so it's going to affect people that are not within town limits. There were hearings to hear from those people, but speaking broadly, the decisions that you all make affect residents and non-residents alike, but all members of the community. So I hope you will hear our voices for that reason. The second being that we're members of this community. We pay county taxes, and Troutman lies in the county of Iredell County, so you lie within the same county. And then we support local businesses. Love that y'all are wearing Carson's shirt. I can't wait to look him up. That's a fantastic story. And we support local businesses, of which you guys also benefit because of taxes and building fees or codes. I don't know what the local business requirements are, but our dollars support local businesses that in turn benefit that. So for those two reasons, I just ask that you understand when we come, tax-paying residents or not, we're all members of the same community. This area is getting bigger and growing and reaching further and further, and I just ask that you would be willing to hear, heed, and receive the comments and concerns that we raise, whether we are tax-paying citizens or not, for those reasons. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. With that, we will move into new business. The first item of new business is the Troutman Town Charter. I will now call this public hearing open. I would say, at least my understanding is, it's not traditionally an open hearing, but the town board has opted to do a public hearing on this so we can ensure that we do hear from folks on the charter. So again, although I don't believe most of the items are substantial, but definitely want to, anytime we open our charter, want to make sure that we get feedback from our residents. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Also, to add to what you said, even though a public hearing is not required, in speaking with the town attorney, he suggested it, one, for transparency's sakes, just in case the legislature in Raleigh asked if we did do a public hearing. Also, I would like to reiterate, as we discussed at the agenda meeting, this is merely a step that the council goes through that began back in May of last year, I believe, when we, council, that is, appointed a committee of council members, myself, and the town attorney to get together and go over line item by line item what was happening with our old town charter, what had been occurring over the years as practice, what had also been occurring with town ordinances that had changed over the years, some of the law changes that had been occurring. One example that I will use is the old charter called council alderman. And of course, we changed some gender-specific things in there to where I'm sure Council Lady Harris would not want to be called an alderman. And that is just one thing, not to be facetious, but to be practical and pragmatic as to what should be called. But there were some other things in there, such as an ordinance was changed by council that told the town manager, and I don't remember the specific date off the top of my head, Mayor Pro Tem pointed it out this past year when it became an issue, that the town manager had the authority to hire a police chief when there was a vacancy, and or appoint was the terminology by that ordinance, a vacancy for police chief, and it became a question or point of clarity based off of what the town charter said in its written form, but because of an ordinance passed by council almost 2 decades previous, if someone was not here to know what the practice was and to be able to go back and look that up, someone looking at our charter might think that that would not be the case in point. So much so that the bad advice was given to council, and it was discussed publicly until the Mayor Pro Tem remembered from his tenure, no, this ordinance was actually passed. So that's what led to the committee being formed and appointed, and that's why we met several times, and the town attorney went back and looked at what current law was, what the terminologies were, and that's why it came to be that we put that out there. Also, once we decide, you all, as council decides tonight, possibly, if you decide to move forward, that does not make this our new town charter. This simply is a working product that council decides, if you decide to move forward to vote on it, that it goes before the legislature, and they are actually the ones that vote on it, and then it becomes law. And then it's sent back here to be adopted. Mr. Attorney, would you like to clarify or add anything to what I said?
No, I think the charter speaks for itself.
We will be glad to answer any questions if you all have any of us, town attorney or myself as your manager.
Any questions for staff or our attorney on changes to the charter? Okay.
I just say that Sally and I were the ones appointed from council that went through this, and we had Mooresville, Statesville, Burlington, Mabane, and somewhere, I can't remember another one, going through to compare when some of the statute changes are in here, to try to, those were wording that we tried to look at which ones had already worded them already and how they did them, to make ours more consistent with the new statutes that have changed over time from the state. So there was a lot of, I mean, we spent, 4 months or so back and forth with this, and like I said, with all the gender changes that have changed, last time was 81 when we did this. So it's been a while since we've updated the charter and sent it back to legislature.
Yes, sir. And former council lady Williams is here also, if she would like to add anything.
Can I add something?
Sure, absolutely.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Sally Williams. I'll sign that in just a minute. What I really wanted to point out for the people that are here and for the people viewing on YouTube, that there's basically two forms of government, or two forms for local government. Council manager or mayor council. And I might be overstepping my boundaries by saying this. Back when the charter maybe was first originally perceived, we had a mayor council type of form, and that means that the mayor hires, fires everyone. Park director, which we didn't have then, but police chief and all employees. We migrated once we started getting larger to a council manager, and the council manager is the council oversees the manager and hires the manager, and the manager's job is to hire or fire all of the town employees. So I just wanted to point that out because some people were saying because of the changes in the charter that we had made, and thank you, George, for pointing out all the work that we put into that, but that we were trying to give our town manager more power. That is not the point here. The point is to bring the charter up to date to the form of government that we have been following for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris and former Councilwoman Williams, for all of your work you did with our attorney in trying to address what we've been talking about for several months, and acknowledging that this document really hadn't been touched for quite a while. And not that it needs to be updated on a annual basis, but at least needs to be considered and looked at and reviewed more than 40 years at a time. So again, appreciate all the work, and also council members taking a deep dive and looking into the charter as well, and providing your feedback and thoughts to the committee and the attorney and staff on what was needed to at least get us to the 20th century on language and some of the comments that were recommended in this charter. So with that, if there are no other questions or comments for staff, I'll open it up to the public for any public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on charter.
Seth Farger again. Hello to my wife at home. She's embarrassed because she doesn't like attention, and though you guys can't see her, I guarantee she's blushing at home. Ultimately, this is just about transparency. My ask, transparency, communication, that's what I'm for. That's what I ask from you. Thank you to Mr. Oxshire for replying to my email. I emailed all of you this week, over the weekend, and didn't receive a response from anyone until last night. Mr. Oxshire just sent me back and basically said, hey, here's your concerns about the charter. They're pretty much administrative in nature and don't sound overreaching. I think we'd all agree, obviously, the charter is very, very important and crucial to the town and town matters and things. And for me personally, again, as a member of the community, I think being forthcoming, stating all that up front, going on the offensive and saying, hey, folks, we're updating the town charter, specifying what those things are. I came by, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday morning, and spoke to Kim. She gladly got me a copy of the records, but wasn't able to give me any information about what changes were being made. The schedule of when things go out and correspondence and communications and some meetings oftentimes being scheduled at working hours leads people to kind of just wonder, and in instances like this where the charter is being updated but no one knows any information or has anything that they're willing to share about what changes are being made, just leaves people like me to be suspect and wonder, well, why doesn't anyone come with that? And so my ask again and plea is to be proactive in your communication, proactive in those changes, just to alleviate and eliminate the suspicion. I know I made quite a stir this week because I suggested some potential things that might be concerning in the charter. As luck would have it, I happened upon the town of Claremont's social media this morning, and they're doing a phenomenal job of posting about public matters, everything from council meetings to public hearings and things of the like. And it was awesome in a very public place. And I'd encourage you all to consider, and staff to consider, utilizing social media for notices like that more than maybe has been done in the past, because we're all on social media, or many. It's just another avenue to continue to reach people. In a rather lengthy exchange with the town manager on Facebook this week, he suggested that I be part of the solution. I have offered, I do communication and marketing for a living, I have offered to the town to have a conversation, ways we could improve social media, ways we could use video to blast messages out there and just keep people informed even greater. I'll make that offer again at no cost to anyone. I'd love to serve my community in that way, to just have a conversation, but we can better communicate with people, keep people informed in instances like the charter, communicate on the front end to cut down on people assuming that there's anything going on. But if there's no information and people that ask for information don't get any, there's reason to suspect that something's going on. Why doesn't anyone have information if we're asking for it? So that's what I asked. That's what I.
Just 3 minutes are up.
And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. The only thing I would mention, Mr. Farber, is we did take on this project about 4 months ago. And what I would say is, as you can see in this room, there was no shenanigans or trying to hide it. We started the conversation in an open meeting. And as you see, and a lot of times you don't get a whole lot of participation, and we welcome that participation. And so, again, the committee that has continued to sit down and work through this process, I'm sure it was publicized in the media then, it's publicized in the media now, and so it didn't just show up 2 weeks ago. This has been on our agenda, and they have been working through it. So, again, I appreciate your comments. I hope other residents of the town appreciate those comments, but also show up and provide their not just negative voice, but a positive voice, as you've done, to offer how can we help. And I don't think anybody else on this council wants to be in a place where we say we're not wanting to partner and work to make our town better. I think that's why we're all sitting up here. So just wanted to make sure I respond to that. It was not done at the last minute. This has been months in the works, and you can hear from some of the work that has already been done by these council members and our attorney and staff. So thank you. If there are no other comments on that, I will close this public hearing. Council, you have heard from the folks who are on the committee, as well as our attorney and the staff regarding the charter. I would ask if there are any additional comments before we move to a vote on the adoption of the amended charter. Okay. If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the charter as has been recommended.
I'd like to make that motion. That we
The
approve.
motion needs to be to approve and to forward it to the General Assembly.
I'll read what it says, same thing it says right here. Lee.
You're welcome to
I'd like
read
make a
that.
motion that we approve the proposed town charter and forward the proposed town charter to the North Carolina General Assembly for consideration of enactment.
There's a motion on the floor to consider the approval of the town charter and forward the proposed charter to the General Assembly for consideration of enactment. Is there a second?
I will second this, Mayor.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, thank you for all the work that has been done to address some of those changes to our charter. The next item on the agenda is to consider a resolution 0122 titled Code of Ethics for the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Troutman. I know, again, this is something that we've talked about for quite some time, and so I will turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we have discussed before in an open session with our town attorney and amongst each other, this is one of those items that after each election process, it is state statute that each elected official in local government and state government has to attend a mandatory ethics training of at least 2 hours that tells them certain ethics that they have to follow. In addition to that, there is also a statute that says local boards must set aside a different set of ethics and standards, given 5 principles listed in those ethics and standards that they have to also follow. As the town attorney has advised you all and give a set of ethics that he wished for you all to adopt, we also adopted a set of ethics numerous years ago when the board was still considered alderman, and we have those in place. However, adopting this new set of ethics and standards is listed for us as council, or you all as council members, but it also changes some of the verbiage that is more modernized, as our town attorney has suggested enacted. I and the town attorney both will be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and you have the code of ethics in your packet, and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions regarding the resolution on the Code of Ethics?
I don't have a question, but that's the thing, I don't have a problem with the document. I did just find some small matters that we may need to address before we pass this.
Okay.
Just as far as gender specificity and just a little bit of cleanup, nothing substantial. But I've got a, not a red line, but a blue line copy, if I need to circulate that. But don't want to wait another 40 years to correct that, so I might as well just go ahead and nip it in the bud. So.
Okay.
But again, nothing substantial, nothing substantive. But
All right. If council is willing to approve the code with some punctuation and or grammatical changes, as Mr. Oxer has presented or will present, If they're okay with that, I'll accept a motion to approve a resolution on the Code of Ethics.
I so moved, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor to consider Resolution 0122, titled Code of Ethics for the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Troutman, North Carolina. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Question or comment?
Mr. Jerry's gonna add the.
Would anyone
blue
like to
line.
see? Or?
We
No,
would,
I've got them numbered here, so
Yeah.
you can breeze through it real quick if you want. So. Ignore the chicken scratch, but yeah, I've got them numbered.
We'll pause for a moment and give Mr. Harris an opportunity to review those.
Okay, 'cause we did go through a lot of the first round of them and did some, we caught a lot. And so, it's been through a couple, okay. And these are good catches that we missed over time.
It's
so-
all minor, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a fresh set of eyes, you know.
Great.
the clerk will need them for the official record.
Great. So motion's on the floor, received a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item is consideration of Policy 61, titled Ethics and Conflict of Interest Guidelines for Town Advisory Boards and Committees. Turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Mr. Mayor, as we also have discussed, the sub-boards, regardless of which one of the boards and/or committees that the town appoints, as our town attorney also suggested in discussion, at current time, we do not have any code of ethics or policies that they are currently also following. So it stands to reason that if we're going to have a code of ethics and policy that town council follows, that the boards that you all appoint would also have to follow the same standards. It's just practical that they should and would. So it is recommendation of town attorney as well as staff that if we're going to have those standards that the elected officials and town council follows, that we also have those same standards and make sure that all those persons appointed by you to serve in the town's benefit, that they have to follow the same standards. So we recommend that as well. We'll be happy to answer any questions regardless of what advisory board or committee that they're serving. And I will add, we have discussed, and for public knowledge and consumption, this does not change any of the rules that we have talked about appointing committees for certain committees and boards need rules that we have discussed, and we hope to have council and staff to come up with rules for those boards and or committees. This does not preclude that. It's two different topics entirely. This is just the ethics and procedures that you all have.
Great, thanks for that last clarification. Any questions for staff or our attorney regarding Policy 61?
I would just add that one of the last correction that Jerry made was, Councilman Oxford was moved from 21 to 22, and the last date needs to be updated.
I was going to say the same thing. I got a couple. I got one more other than that, yeah.
Okay.
But again, yeah, just housekeeping.
And I would assume those also need to be shared with the clerk, but as we have heard, asking our advisory boards and committees to also follow ethics and conflict guidelines, I think makes sense, and appreciate the work that has gone into drafting that as well. Council, you've heard from staff. Is there a motion to approve Policy 61, Title Ethics and Conflict of Interest Guidelines for Town Advisory Boards and Committees?
Make a motion that we consider policy number 61, titled Ethics and Conflict of Interest Guidelines for Town Advisory Boards and Committees.
Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Again, appreciate all the work that's been done on the charter and all the codes of ethics. Again, it's work that, foundational work that needs to be done and continue to be reviewed. So again, I appreciate all those that have provided feedback and comment on those. The next item on our agenda is the consideration of appointments. We've got a couple of committees that we need to get folks serving as representatives for. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
The first committee that we have up, Mr. Mayor, is our Council of Government, Central Iowa Council of Government, and we'd like to know who you all would like for that. Excuse me, I honestly don't even know who it was that was serving. I think it might have been Councilman Harris. Yes, he just waved at me. It was Councilman Harris served on that one last.
And after 2 years, I've had sent a request to the mayor that I move over to transportation when I spent 2 years. Unfortunately, with the 2 years, we were all virtual at the first meeting, so while there's a lot of good things go out of there, I'm not a virtual kind of guy.
And we have, having said that, have Councilman Harris as the alternate to the Charlotte Regional
CRTPO.
CRTPO. And we have the Mayor Pro Tem as to the Lake Norman Transportation. Now, we did have that backwards. It's a standing appointment that we have the mayor, of course. You, Mr. Mayor, is the natural appointment that goes to the CRTPO.
Correct.
And the alternate there has been the Mayor Pro Tem in years past. But we've got Councilman Harris going in that role as the alternate to the CRTPO. And we've got Mayor Pro Tem, if you all will agree, is going to the Lake Norman Regional Transportation Committee, which last year was actually Council Lady Williams, who is, of course, is no longer on that committee. And transportation, the reason we saw fit as staff to recommend those is one of those that really takes veteran council persons, if we have those available, to serve in those roles, that understands POW bill money and the community's transportation plans and or what our plans have been and some of the meetings that we have had going on there before. That is in no way intended to be a disrespect to Councilman Oxer or Council Lady Harris, who are relatively new to council, but we tried to get the more seasoned persons who have been on council and had discussions over some of the monies that we have been expecting and or have been promised to us because of these other areas. And of course, Mayor Pro Tem is the most veteran, seasoned person here to see all of these projects that's coming and going. And Bill Thornburg with Lake Norman Regional Transportation is involved in both CARTPO and Lake Norman Regional Transportation. And and of course, Councilman Harris can serve as the backup to Lake Norman Regional in case the Mayor Pro Tem couldn't get there. But that was our suggestions there on the transportation part, which leaves the vacancy on Central Iowa Council of Governments for whichever.
Great. Any interest? Are you familiar with Central Iowa Council of Government?
No, I'm not.
Awesome. So do you want to, Mr. Harris, share maybe your thoughts on Central Iowa Council of Governments?
Well, Central Atlanta has a lot of programs. One of them is the Connect Beyond, where they try to look at transportation for like, whether it's bikeways or transportation from busing and light rail and everything that ties the Mecklenburg up through Iredell County and all the 9 counties that they're a part of. They look at transportation groups. They got groups for senior programs. They have, even when we were looking for town managers, they were involved in doing from Central Atlanta, would actually do all the background stuff for all each one of the managers, and gave us the information as we went through and helped us prepare all the interviews and stuff, and they were part of that. So they do that kind of stuff too, as long as, a lot of help for the communities. We've been a part of them for several years. And I did learn it's Central Atlanta, not Central Link.
That's right.
The first
Yeah.
meeting. But several of the people, Mayor Pro Tem Morgan up in Statesville is on the committee, and I'm not sure, is a Councilman Bobby Compton from Mooresville is on the committee. And then I was up, so we have a table where there's several of us are from this area represented.
Was Eddie gonna remain the alternate?
Yeah, I'd like to, yes.
And only thing I would add, it's a group that also, it's kind of a support function for the municipal governments, not just municipal, but I think they also do county as well. So as Mr. Harris mentioned, when we were looking for someone to kind of walk us, facilitate us through a process of hiring a manager, even hiring a police chief. In the past, we've done retreats, and they've provided staff to help facilitate retreats. So it's kind of an administrative arm that really provides support. And so we everybody kind of pays into it, if you will. And so there are certain things that come with that membership that are at no cost. And if you go above and beyond that, then there's some costs to the town. But for the most part, they provide a service. Sometimes it's research. Other times it's actual, boots on the ground of, maybe it's what are other counties or other towns doing on a particular subject. It could be water, sewer, it could be anything, but they'll provide some expertise. Maybe it's providing direction for, how the board can handle those sorts of things. So helping really provide good governance for the board.
And they do meet 4 times a year on a Wednesday. The second month of is the same Wednesday night as our council meeting. It's the night before the council meeting in February, May, and around it's 4 months. And it's right off 485. The second exit, I think, is going into off 485 and down through there a little ways to where their offices are.
That's a tremendous improvement from when I was on there back in the 80s, when they met every month, and it was in individual cities, and some of those cities could be really, and when you got an 8-time job. But again, it's much improved, and as you say, it's a vital, as both of you say, it's a vital organization for us, in my opinion.
So, and again, also a good way to network with other elected officials, and in some cases, managers are there as well. So again, they have various events and that sort of thing to help train and educate folks on what's going on in the region. So any volunteers for Central Atlanta Council of Governments? And again, I think it was mentioned Eddie is the, Mr. Now is the alternate.
I'll do it. Yeah,
You're,
yeah, I'll volunteer.
that's
I
better.
thought I was being voluntold, but I'll
You were
volunteer.
close.
Oh,
You
I
were
heard
close.
that
I didn't have any more. I didn't have any more selling points. I was, I didn't turn my seat around. So, Mr. Auction
No,
volunteered.
I would be happy
Okay.
to. I would be happy to.
Okay.
It's a great way of meeting some
It's,
of your
yeah.
fellow representatives.
Absolutely.
When you have the regular meetings it is.
Well, yeah,
And a good meal.
that too, yes.
Thank you. And quite honestly, these are the CRTPO is it's an open meeting, and so if anyone wants to learn about about transportation, you're welcome to participate in those meetings, and they usually have a visitor section, if you will, and press is there in some cases. So again, those are also open meetings, and welcome to, again, learn a little bit more about the lingo, what goes on at CRTPO. Welcome to ask me or Mr. Harris. By the way, you were on the Zoom, the last Zoom call, so good to see you on there. But again, anybody who wants to participate, please let us know.
Mr. Mayor, are they still going to continue virtual at CRP, a couple of, that started with the pandemic? Or
Yeah.
you think they're going, after the return to
So
full
they're,
participation, they will continue the Zoom as
yeah,
well?
they're doing hybrid right now.
Right.
So people can, there's always been a handful, they just ask you to register and let them know ahead of time so that they can make sure it's not a, room full and they can spread people out. But there is some hybrid today. I think that it is their desire to go back to in-person. But again, given the current, environment we're in, I think they're going to postpone that and, maybe give it a few more months before they make that decision.
Well, you mentioned maybe some who are not even, representative or alternate who might be interested, don't have to drive to Charlotte, they can,
Yeah,
still do
absolutely.
virtual.
Yeah, you can do virtual.
To at least
Yeah.
see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to dial in or whatever and just kind of, listen in, please, ask us, let us know when we get the invites, and we'll be glad to share it.
And Councilman Harris, you said CCOG is still all virtual?
Yes, it was, tried to go back and then they ended up right before the meeting in, was it December, December, October, they switched it that last week back, and that was the first time, I think maybe in October, so they would try to do it, and then they had to switch back. So they were all virtual up, and right now, this last meeting was virtual. February's coming up, I don't know, it may be a hybrid like the CRTPO was.
Meal's not as good on virtual meetings, though, right?
You depended on the wife.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, then I'm set.
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
So we've got a slate of recommendations. As I understand it, the Central Carolina COG is Mr. Oxer as the delegate, Mr. Now as the alternate, myself as the delegate for CRTPO, Mr. Harris as the alternate, for Lake Norman Regional Transportation is Mr. Hinkle as the delegate, and Mr. Harris as the alternate.
Yes. Miss Harris wouldn't want to be the alternate?
For what?
For Lake Norman, I mean. Hate for her not to have one of these opportunities.
I'm good.
I would hate for you to miss out.
It's down in Mooresville, so it's close by when they go back to, meeting in person, so it's close, once a month.
That's the one he was talking about, the season people, right?
Excuse me?
That's the one that.
No, that's more CRTPO.
Oh, I was trying to get out of it.
I mean, I don't mind doing it, I don't want you to be left out of here. You need to have.
Yeah, I don't mind taking that one. I just thought that was the one that he was talking about, the more seasoned people.
Well, I think he was saying on transportation in particular. I mean, it can be very confusing. It's almost not like one of those which I think I tried whenever I was just Mayor Pro Tem, just try to pop in every now and then. It gets difficult, especially early on, to understand the lingo of what's going on with the funding, with all of the synonyms and and just the language. And so it's hard to be effective sometimes in that. So I can understand that. And, with myself and Mr. Harris being part of CRTPO, it's kind of like, you hear it enough at some point, it just starts to sink in. So, which is also good. Mr. Hinkle's been a delegate, probably for both, and so starts to understand the language, which is why I think he was saying that.
Now, there was an orientation that took place, a week or 10 days ago.
Right.
That Lena may want to, if they, and I'm sure they did, it was virtual.
It was recorded.
according, if they have kept that you can go on and, it would, certainly orient you to, a little bit more about what it's about, and the lingo, and
Okay, so they teach you all of that in it? Okay.
So we want to add Ms. Harris to LNRTC. All right. So is there a motion to approve these appointments?
so moves.
Okay, motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Don't y'all sound too enthused. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. Next item on the agenda are elected official reports and comments. I will open it up for council first.
I'll just say it was good to see having a new police officer and the recognition of the 2 promotions out front again. It's good to see the good things our police do and all of our city employees. And then for the town staff and Duck, I know it was a big part. He called me a while back. We were riding down the radio show about this thing with the T-shirts and with Carson's Pickles, and I think the business spotlight was very good tonight, and I think it goes a long ways. We do stuff like that. And again, Leighton's report there is it's got us going good there with the ABC store. Now, when I go to West Virginia, you just walk into a drugstore and buy bourbon. It's kind of a little different there than it is here. And that's all I have. I'll take a month off and be back in March.
And we look forward to having you back. I understand there's a number of items that you need to do while you're resting that we might send your way. But again, we wish you well in your procedure. And
Yeah, I have more of an aggressive when I think I'm going to be back, and my wife keeps telling me that you might as well just slow down. Just like even up there at the prison, I've said, my goal is to be back the 4th week of February, and she says, you're not going back to March, so we'll see.
I think she knows best, but I'll leave it at that.
I'm just gonna jump in, milk it for all it's worth, because you'll never get another opportunity to be waited on. When you're sitting there, oh, ow, and, since I got better,
You haven't met my wife.
life
have
went
you?
down. Quality of life went down. I gotta wait on myself now, imagine that.
She'll help me go for so long. It's just time for you to start moving.
Ms. Harris?
I echo his comment about, I echo Town Council Harris's, Councilman Harris's, I can't talk today. Councilman Harris's comment about the business spotlight. I follow Carson's mom on Facebook, so it's just good to see him in here and doing so well, because I saw it from the beginning, and to see where he is now, to hear he's shipping to other countries, that's just amazing, and his pickles are amazing. So I'm so glad to see that. I'm going to be glad to see other businesses in here as well, spotlighting other businesses in our town as well. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Farger, if he's listening, for coming in for his comments on tonight, and for representing the citizens of our town. That's all I have.
I hope our citizens and residents come out Saturday and support our Martin Luther King Day celebration. It's going to be a great thing, giving back to the community. And I hope everyone is careful Saturday night into Sunday morning with our storm. Our town manager and our public works supervisor, Adam, is already on the job and making plans and doing things. So I'm confident that they're going to do a great job and got it handled. Thank you.
Yeah, I also, I'm very proud of the small businesses that we have in town. Carson's, your coffee place, I think it's a great time for small businesses here in Troutman. I'm very proud that the council, acknowledged, and put the spotlight on Carson, and I hope we can continue to foster this environment in the future. I do plan to cede the rest of my time to Councilwoman Harris, because I do believe you forgot something, because your Facebook timeline did inspire me to grab the closest red I could find in my closet. So if you would like another crack?
No.
Okay, well, in honor of the you know, the sorority that you've joined, you know, and it's a big anniversary. It's a well-respected group that's done a lot of good things, and so, you know, I'm proud I got to see a lot of the stuff today on Facebook, and I just want to show my appreciation for
Thank
that
you. I was
as
trying
well.
to be calm about it, but thank you.
Yeah. I wasn't part of the Greek system, so, you know, it's,
Well, you know, I'm glad to hear, you know, the upbeat and comments that have been made. If I may make one that's kind of maybe a little, I'm not gonna say downer, but it's one that needs to be said because of events over the past week or two, and the loss of a valued employee that'd been with us for quite a while, one that had been a great help to me over the years, and great personality, and dealt with the public very well, and I certainly hated to lose this employee when I found out that she had moved on, and I was very disappointed in hearing why she left, because I can understand that probably if I or others were in a similar situation, that I may have been seeking a different environment to work under. And that leads me to make a plea to the public. And I don't care what political spectrum, what side you're on, whether you agree, you disagree, in between, you don't care, you do care, whomever. If you have, especially if it's a negative comment, and there have been some here lately, unfortunately, but, you know, that's a part of the job, part of the nature of the business, and part of government, and that's why it's guaranteed in the Constitution to petition and redress grievances with the government, and I understand that. But please, folks, anybody out there hearing me, and anybody in here, telling friends, neighbors, what have you, please, if you have situations that you're unhappy with, address it to our town manager, address it to one of us, because we are the ones that kind of you know, make the decisions here. The town manager recommends, obviously under some of his duties he makes decisions, but others he recommends us and we make the decisions. And if you're not happy with those, or if you're not happy with things that have not been passed on yet that you feel a grievance toward, I understand that, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm just simply asking, please do not take it out on our employees. They have nothing to do with that. They are simply here doing their jobs, doing them very well, and they don't deserve to be harassed or stopped in public, or maybe as people are driving through the windows or coming inside to do business, to be downgraded and beleaguered, if you will, with comments on issues that they have no control over. Or maybe, well, yeah, no control over, period. Whether, you know, they're talking to someone of one department that has no control over the other, or has no control over what policies we set here, I request that you show your appreciation to town staff, and let them know that, you know, while maybe you're not happy with us, while maybe you're not happy with the town manager, you are happy with the jobs that they are doing, that they're being paid to do, but they enjoy doing, and they just like a little pat on the back and not a kick in the rear end for something they have no control over. And we have lost one employee over this, and you know, who knows what may happen in the future, and I hate to hear that we may lose another good because somebody is not mature enough to speak to these people with respect, and if they are feeling that they need to vent to one of us or vent to the town manager, but leave our town staff alone unless you have something good to say to them. Now, if you have a suggestion, if you have a complaint, you can certainly talk to them in a respectful, mature manner about it, if it is something to do with their with the job that they're doing or something, or what have you. And I would also, even in that, I would ask you to speak with the town manager. They report to him and speak with him, and you know, he'll address the situation. But again, please be respectful of our town staff. like I say, reach out, let them know, if you have something good to say it to them, let them know they're appreciated. One of the comments was, from a former employee now, I used to feel appreciated and now I do not. And, why continue to put up with that when you can go down the road and find a place where you are appreciated? So, I just want to get that across that, I was elected to take the barbs and the rocks, and the rest of us the same way. The town manager was appointed to do the same thing. So if you have a grievance, level it on us, but leave the town staff alone as far as that's concerned. Let them do their jobs and let them know you appreciate them. And that's all I've got to say, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Just a couple of comments. Again, not kidding, but Mr. Harris, if you need anything while you're out, please let us know. Happy to assist any way we can.
Appreciate that.
I think it was January 13th, 1913. There's 22 women decided to promote academic goodwill at Howard University. My wife being one of them. Great job and congratulations on Founders Day.
Thank you.
And so appreciate Mr. Oxford bringing that up. Clearly, an organization that is focused on goodwill as we continue to celebrate our community, and as Mr. Now mentioned, look forward to having folks come out for our first annual MOK event, and really supporting the community as we do a day of service. And I think that's what it's about, and look forward to everyone helping us to support our community on that day. And I've already heard from some other groups that will be participating and providing activities during that day. So I think the staff has clearly pushed off the weather that was supposed to be here on Saturday morning. It is now pushed to Sunday, and so they did a great job with that, so folks won't have an excuse for not being able to come out and support us. So again, look forward to that, and everyone being safe this weekend in our community. I do want to say, again, thanks to the chief in recognizing the new officers, but also those who are being promoted. And appreciate the work that they do. And I know there's been a lot going on in our community since you came on board, and I appreciate you being here. So thank you for your continued support and helping us build an outstanding, extraordinary law enforcement agency. So thank you for that. Before I turn it over to Mr. Wyatt, can I get you to come up for a minute?
Sure.
Need a little help on something. I believe today is a day of celebration. Our town manager is celebrating a birthday today. I would ask you all to join me in singing happy birthday to him. So I say join me because I can't sing, so don't leave me hanging. All right, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Doug. Happy birthday to you. I know he doesn't get speechless too often, but I don't have too many opportunities to get him, so that's my jam. Happy birthday.
That's how you got the hoodie, right?
Yeah.
Now I know.
When's your birthday, Jerry?
Good long way away. Not hoodie weather.
Yeah. I will now turn it over to you.
I got the hoodie, Councilman Oxer, because there's this thing. Even in the pickle market, you have to go to the black market thing to get the thin sliced garlic deals. You can't get them in the retail establishment. You have to go to the back door and order them special over there.
Okay.
The thin sliced garlic deals you put on a hot dog. You can't get them thick ones. But all jokes aside, thank y'all for the birthday. I appreciate that. I would like to start off my comments, but first of all, thanking Chief Watson. Anytime somebody takes over a new job, you all had the confidence to allow me to be your town manager. I love this town, as every one of you all do. Using Council Lady Harris's comment from a few months ago, the word that we all like to use, and it gets some of us in trouble from time to time, is many people here, regardless of what the issue are, we get passionate. And that's a good thing about us in Troutman, regardless of where we live, as we are passionate about our community, and that's a good thing. But you all had confidence in me being the manager, and there's been changes here. All of them were not great, and all of them were not good. And we are good enough to look at each other in the eye and know that. And I appreciate the fact that I have been here, and most of the community has stood behind me in that year, some not. And that's okay, but we're still here, and we're still going forward, and we're prospering as we should. But Chief Watson has been here a short time, and as not only you as council have noticed, but we've had a lot of community members that have noticed, and I couldn't help but be proud of the committee's decision, because several people have given me credit for hiring Chief Watson, and it was not me. Several of you all was engaged in the process that we used, and when we hired Chief Watson, it was a community decision that was involved in that panel that got to pick. But several of the comments that I heard then are starting to be true now. And when these young men that was promoted tonight, and one of them, Stikelether, being hired, the first thing that I seen there was the professionalism. And that's one of the first things, if you all will recall, in my interview for all of you that was in that, is that you all told me you wanted back in the police department. It's when you looked at all of them, you wanted to see uniformity in a police uniform and them looking professional. And I think tonight was an example that all of them looked uniform and looked the same. So for that, I wanted to not put the chief on the spot, but thank him very much, because that's was obvious with them standing here, and they've taken pride in that. So I appreciate that. The other thing I would like to recognize is Councilman Harris is getting ready to have his surgery. We've had one staff already has, and another one going through it. And the COVID thing is still biting us, as it's biting every workplace, it seems, in the county. And with all of that and the snow coming on, we all have to be cautious and mindful of what's happening. And we are mindful of that in the workplace, and with you all to please be careful. And as you said, Mayor, anything we can do for our staff and elected officials in that, we are, as I sent out the email to you all saying, hey, some of you all saying, hey, we're short-staffed here, be mindful. And as seems like has been ever since I got here, we're still wearing multiple hats, doing multiple jobs, which segues me into what Mr. Farger said when he was here, that, hey, I volunteered to do this. It sounds good on the surface to say, hey, I volunteer to do things, but in reality, we can't just let people have access to our video system and then to our internal workings. There's laws that goes into what information we can and not release, who can have access to that information and who cannot have access to it. He already, and I'm not trying to embarrass Mr. Farger, I'm just saying already, he does not know what the laws are and what information can and cannot be public. We are already having to educate him as to what the laws are and when it can and cannot be. Our town attorney's having to meet him and discuss certain, our planning department's having to meet him to discuss certain things. And in reality, as a county resident, he should be meeting with the county planning department, not our town and planning department. Even though he's in our community, that's not a town staff burden to educate a county resident as to what that process is. And that's just an example of what I'm saying. We are a small town with small staff that can't take a volunteer like that to put that on social media. It would take us more time to train him as to what to do, but it sounds good in theory. Hey, this is what I do for a living. No, you don't for a government. As Council Lady Harris can tell you, with her IT background, you can't turn a novice in the civilian world loose in a government entity and say, hey, go do what you do there. It's not practical to do that. As our staff can tell you, as I just explained with the sickness and other things, and our IT things, we are doing our job as best we can. And again, it's not an excuse. It is an admission publicly. We do not have the time to do what is in the ideal world that other people would like us to do the extras of. I guarantee all of our taxpayers and all of our citizens, we are doing everything the law asks us to do and then some as compared to what we used to do. That does not mean that we don't have room to improve and do better. We absolutely are trying and will be doing better as we have time, and we will get there. And yes, Mr. Farger is correct. We could do better, and we will. But we can't do these things that he wants to compare to somewhere else, and for that I apologize. And I'm not going to compare us to them or get into that part of it. I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem's comments about our employees. Absolutely 100% correct in what he said, and that is a battle. I cannot keep giving our employees confidence when we have people attacking them social media wise and or in public when they're here in this community trying to do things themselves. If these people are going to say things and bash the staff has nothing to do with decisions that you all make or decisions that I make. If these people, whomever they are, has an issue, they need to talk to you all for your decisions and me for mine, and call those what they are. The staff is not responsible to do things when they're not working. Bankers don't answer social media on the weekend, so why should somebody here in the office do that themselves? That's not fair, and it's ridiculous to even say so. Shame on those people that's doing it. As far as our snow days, thank several of you all for mentioning that. Our staff is absolutely prepared and are checking the equipment that they will need to do that. Just to remind everybody, some of our public works will handle some of our town areas, but we have a contracted service that we use for our town streets. The state will handle our main highways, Highway 21 and those areas. Our contracted service will handle our town streets. If there is an issue, please call Town Hall. I have talked to 2 different developments today. One of them was Aberdeen Village. Is that correct, Chief? That one, for example, is a private neighborhood. Yes, they live in the city, for example, and yes, they pay city taxes, but whoever developed that neighborhood, for example, never brought that street up to city standards, and that street was never turned over to us. That is not a street that we would clear. It never was turned over to us. So we talked to them and explained to them what they could do to privately get their street cleared, and hopefully that will take care of them. The HOA chairman or president was tickled that we had the conversation. But anytime there's a question, feel free to call me. We will absolutely try to talk to people and let them know what to do to be prepared. But if there is any issue with any street, feel free to let us know. But I want to remind everyone, we will not start clearing snow until it has completely quit snowing for at least a couple hours. It won't be if it quits snowing now, we'll start the next hour. We wait for at least a couple hours to make sure that there's no snow or ice coming on top of it and no more snow coming within the next belt of snow that they call it. Also, to our main celebration that we're having this weekend, I think most every town council person, county elected person, and state legislature has confirmed that they will be at our Martin Luther King celebration Saturday morning. Just to remind everybody, that will be at South Iredell at the Performing Arts Center at 8 a.m. We have a fabulous speaker lined up that will be there. We will have individually wrapped biscuits from Bojangles. Bojangles was gracious to sponsor our breakfast, and the reason we did biscuits was so that they're individually wrapped because of the COVID. Otherwise, we would have had a different style breakfast. Not that there's anything wrong with a Bojangles biscuit. We just wanted to individually wrap one so that people wouldn't have to worry with sharing food and utensils. We will have various types of drinks available so that you can have those. Once our mayor has introduced our speaker, and we've had a few special guests recognized, our speaker will do a fabulous job. He happened to also have went to school with our mayor and council lady Harris, but he will do. You will enjoy the presentation, I assure you. After that, we will reconvene for what we're very proud of, and once again, Troutman will lead this county in being the first, and we will start our celebration at 10 a.m. down at exit 42, the median areas, for those of you all that have been down there lately. Again, council had made it very much a priority of theirs that our town south, as they explained it during our retreat last year, was not an inviting entrance into our town. So they've told us to come up with plans and try to do something to improve that area for people that's getting off the interstate and or coming north into town. So again, things can't happen overnight, but through planning, trying to get DOT, getting our code enforcement, getting everything else ironed out as to who's what priority and cutting through the red tape, we have learned, one, all of those signs that used to be there illegally, the real estate signs, everything else, we've gotten most of those removed. We've gotten DOT to understand, one, that they don't pay to clean up their part of the roads that they own anymore, so we as a town are having to do it. But we will meet down there after the festivities are done at South Iredell. We have the Marine Corps League, the Marine Corps ROTC, Master Sergeant Fisher will have his students down there, even though he's going to be in Tennessee at a drill competition trying to win another national championship. I mean, we know how Marines are. I feel confident that they will come back with one. Again, they have won before. But he's going to try to win another one for South Iredell. But the rest of the cadets here will be down there to help us work. Several other student clubs will be down there to help us also. And we're going to try to clean that area up with shovels. Lowe's is also a good sponsor that is helping provide various tools and equipment and vests. And we've got a couple others that are supposed to show up with equipment as well. Our public works, our police, and a couple other town staff. Even though it's a holiday weekend for most other towns and cities in the county, about half of our town staff and employees will be working because we truly do believe it's a day on and not a day off, and that's how we're going to honor Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Awesome. Look forward to folks supporting that event. So, again, thank you and the staff for organizing it. At this point, I have nothing else for the good of the order.
And I'd like to say, in memory of our co-citizen of the year from 2021, and honored I get to sit in his seat, Jimmy Troutman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I like that. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you all.